The email notification pinged at 3:47 a.m., the sound sharp enough to jolt Kate awake. She reached for her phone on the nightstand, squinting at the bright screen in the darkness. The subject line made her stomach drop: court document translation, urgent. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Korean characters filled the top of the document, followed by English translation below. Divorce decree. Final judgment. Date: 3 years ago. Petitioner: Park Hyun-woon. Respondent: Catherine Sarah Mitchell. Kate's breath caught in her throat. She turned her head slowly to the left, where Hyun-woon slept peacefully beside her, his chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. The same man who had kissed her forehead before bed. The same man who still called her Yobo honey. The same man who had apparently erased their marriage 3 years ago without saying a word. Her hands shook so violently she nearly dropped the phone. If you're already hooked, smash that subscribe button because this story is about to get darker than you can imagine. Kate slipped out of bed, her bare feet silent on the cold marble floor. She grabbed her robe and moved toward the bathroom, phone clutched to her chest like a lifeline. Once inside, she locked the door and sat on the edge of the bathtub, reading the document again. And again. The words didn't change. Grounds for divorce. Irreconcilable differences. Filed unilaterally in Seoul Family Court. No contest. Finalized without respondent present. She had never been to court. Never received papers. Never signed anything. How does someone get divorced without knowing? Kate's mind raced backward through the last 3 years. Nothing had changed. They still lived together in this sprawling villa in Gangnam. They still shared a bed. They still attended charity galas where Hyun-woon introduced her as his wife. Or did he? She tried to remember his exact words at the last event. This is Kate. Not my wife Kate. Just Kate. A cold realization crept up her spine. She stood and looked at herself in the mirror. Her reflection stared back, a 32-year-old black woman with natural hair twisted into a silk scarf, dark skin against the white marble bathroom, eyes wide with confusion and growing fear. She had come to Korea 5 years ago for a fashion design internship. She had fallen in love with a charismatic venture capitalist who promised her the world. She had married him in a small ceremony with his close friends. No family, hers, couldn't afford to fly from Atlanta, and he said his were traditional and needed time. Time. 3 years of time. 3 years of living a lie. Kate's phone buzzed. A text from her translator friend Jenny, the one who had sent the document. Kate, call me when you can. There's more. You need to see this. More? What could possibly be more than discovering your husband divorced you in secret? She couldn't call now. Hyun-woon was just outside. Instead, she typed, can't talk. What else? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Jenny's response came through. Property records. The villa isn't in your name. It never was. And there's something else about a second property next door. Same owner. Call me when you're alone. Kate's knees buckled. She sat back down on the tub's edge, trying to process this information. The villa wasn't hers. Of course it wasn't. But she had assumed that as his wife, except she wasn't his wife. She hadn't been his wife for 3 years. What else had been a lie? She thought about the beautiful prison she lived in. The villa was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul, an infinity pool, a walk-in closet bigger than her old apartment in Atlanta. But she rarely left. Hyun-woon always said it was safer this way. Seoul could be overwhelming. The media was intrusive. His business enemies were dangerous. He had given her a safety bracelet, a delicate gold band she wore on her wrist that he said had an emergency button. Kate looked down at the bracelet now. Her stomach turned. She had never questioned it before. Never pressed the button to see what would happen. Never tried to take it off because Hyun-woon said it was custom-fitted and removing it incorrectly would break the mechanism. Was it a tracker? She stood abruptly and tried to slide it off. It wouldn't budge. She pulled harder, twisting it, but the clasp was designed in a way she couldn't reach. Panic rose in her chest like floodwater. Yobo? Hyun-woon's voice called from the bedroom. Are you okay? Kate froze. She quickly flushed the toilet for effect and ran the sink. Yes, Just needed some water. Come back to bed. It's early. She stared at her reflection one more time, forcing her face into calm neutrality. Then she opened the bathroom door and returned to the bedroom, climbing back into bed beside the man who had erased her from his life while keeping her trapped in it. Hyun-woon wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her close. His breath was warm against her neck. "I love you," he murmured. Kate's throat tightened. "I love you too," she whispered automatically, the words tasting like poison. She lay there in the darkness, eyes wide open, listening to him fall back asleep. Her mind spun with questions. Why divorce her in secret? Why keep up the charade? What was the second property Jenny mentioned? As dawn light began to filter through the curtains, Kate made a decision. She needed answers. And she needed them today. At 8 a.m., Hyun-woon woke and went through his usual routine: shower, perfectly pressed suit, espresso from the Italian machine in the kitchen. He kissed Kate's cheek before leaving. "I have back-to-back meetings today. I'll be home late," he said, adjusting his tie in the hallway mirror. "Okay," Kate replied, keeping her voice steady. "I'll be here." He smiled at her, that devastating smile that had made her fall in love 5 years ago. "You always are." The words landed differently now. "You always are." Not a comfort. A fact. A constraint. The door closed behind him. Kate counted to 60, then moved to the window and watched his black Mercedes disappear through the villa's front gate. The gate closed automatically behind him, and she heard the electronic lock click into place. She was alone. Alone in a house she apparently didn't own. Alone in a marriage that didn't exist. Alone in a life that was slowly revealing itself to be a carefully constructed cage. Kate called Jenny immediately. Finally, Jenny answered. "Kate, where are you right now?" "Home." Hyun-woon just left. "What did you find?" Jenny's voice dropped. "I did more digging after I sent you that divorce decree. The property records show the villa you're in is owned by a company, Park Holdings. Hyun-woon is the sole owner. But there's a second villa right next to yours, same company ownership. I pulled some photos from real estate databases. Kate, they're connected properties. Like a compound. Connected how? There's a garden between them, but they share the same security system, same gates. It's like 2 houses designed to look separate but function as one estate." Kate's pulse quickened. "Who lives in the other villa?" "That's what I can't figure out." "But Kate, there's more. I found social media posts. Hyun-woon at charity events, business conferences. In most recent photos from the last 3 years, he's with a woman. Her name is Miare. She's Korean, from a powerful family. And in these photos, what? They look like a couple, holding hands. Her wearing what looks like an engagement ring. I'm sending you screenshots now." Kate's phone buzzed repeatedly as images came through. She sat on the couch, swiping through them. Photo after photo of Hyun-woon with a beautiful Korean woman, elegant, poised, smiling at the camera with his arm around her waist. At a gala. At a business summit. At what looked like a private party. All photos from the last 3 years. All events Kate had never attended. "Kate? You still there?" "Yeah," Kate breathed. "I'm here. I think you need to get out of that house." "I think you're right. But I need to understand what's happening first. Can you come over?" "He has me on the banned list. Security won't let me in. They stopped me last year, remember? Said I wasn't on the approved visitor list." Kate had forgotten that. She had assumed it was a mistake. Now it seemed deliberate. Hyun-woon controlled who could reach her. "Then I need to come to you," Kate said. "Can you leave?" "Good question." Kate walked to the front door and tried the handle. Locked. She pressed the button for the electronic lock. Nothing. She tried the keypad. Error message. She needed a code. A code she didn't have. Kate's breath came faster. She moved to the back door. Also locked, same system. The ground floor windows were sealed, decorative only, Hyun-woon had said, for climate control and security. She ran upstairs to the bedroom and tried those windows. Sealed. Every exit required a code she didn't have. "Jenny, I can't get out. All the doors are locked electronically and I don't have the code." Silence on the other end. Then, Kate, you need to listen to me carefully. You're not safe there. That's not a home. That's a prison. The word hit her like a slap. Prison. That's exactly what it was. What do I do? There has to be an override. Check the security panel. Check his office. Look for anything that might have codes written down. Kate moved through the villa with new eyes. Everything that had seemed like luxury now looked like confinement. The cameras she had assumed were for security. How long had they been watching her? The staff who came to clean and cook but never spoke to her, had they been instructed not to? The isolation she had thought was protection, was it imprisonment? She found the main security panel in Hyunwoon's home office, a room she rarely entered because he said it was his private workspace. The door was unlocked. She stepped inside. The office was immaculate, dark wood desk, leather chair, walls lined with bookshelves and filing cabinets. Kate moved to the desk and started opening drawers. Files about business deals, contracts, investment portfolios. Then she found a locked drawer. Kate searched for the key, checking every possible hiding spot. Nothing. She grabbed a letter opener and worked it into the lock, fumbling, desperate. Finally, something clicked. The drawer opened. Inside was a file folder labeled Catherine. Her hands shook as she opened it. The first document was their marriage certificate. Behind it, the divorce decree, the original, in Korean and English. Behind that, something that made her stomach drop, a psychological evaluation. Her name at the top. Details about her personality, her habits, her emotional vulnerabilities. Notes about dependency issues. Recommendations for isolation to maintain control. Who had written this? When had she been evaluated? She kept reading. There were financial documents showing all her personal accounts were actually sub-accounts of Hyunwoon's company. Her credit cards, her bank access, all controlled by him. She had no independent money. She had nothing. Kate felt tears burning her eyes, but she forced them back. She needed to stay focused. At the bottom of the file was a handwritten note in Hyunwoon's writing, Catherine's transition complete. Legal ties severed. Subject fully dependent. Monitor for compliance. Subject. He had called her a subject. Kate's hands clenched into fists. Rage replaced fear, hot, clarifying rage. She pulled out her phone and photographed every document in the file. Then she kept searching. In another drawer, she found a tablet. She powered it on, and it opened without a password. Hyunwoon must have used it recently. The screen showed a security camera feed. Multiple feeds. Kate's bedroom. The bathroom. The living room. The kitchen. Every room in the villa had cameras. She watched herself on the screen, standing in the office, holding the tablet. There was a camera in here too, which meant Hyunwoon could be watching her right now. Kate's heart hammered. She looked up at the corners of the room until she spotted it, a tiny lens embedded in a bookshelf. She fought the urge to run. Instead, she kept her face neutral and continued looking through the tablet. There were folders labeled by date. She opened one from 2 weeks ago and saw footage of herself sleeping, eating, showering. He had been watching everything. Kate felt violated in a way she had never experienced. But she kept searching, and that's when she found the second set of camera feeds. The other villa. She clicked on the folder labeled East Property, and live feeds appeared. A living room decorated in soft creams and golds. A bedroom with a massive bed. And in the kitchen, moving around making coffee, was Miare. Kate's breath stopped. She watched as the woman moved through her morning routine, comfortable, familiar with the space. Then a door opened and Hyunwoon walked in. Kate checked the timestamp. This was happening right now. She watched her husband, ex-husband, wrap his arms around Miare from behind, kissing her neck. Miare laughed and turned to kiss him properly. They moved together with the ease of a real couple. A couple who lived together. A couple who were actually married. Kate's vision blurred with tears, but she couldn't look away. Hyunwoon was supposed to be at back-to-back meetings. But he was actually next door, with another woman, in another villa, living another life. She watched as they sat down to breakfast together. Miare showed him something on her phone and they laughed. He kissed her hand. They looked happy. They looked real. Kate was the fake. The secret. The woman locked in a villa next door to his real life. Why? Why keep her here? Why go through the effort? She thought about the psychological evaluation, the notes about control and dependency. Hyun-woon wasn't just a liar. He was something much darker. He had systematically isolated her, trapped her, and maintained the fiction of their marriage while living his actual life just meters away. Kate's mind cleared with sudden, cold determination. She needed to get out. Now, she used the tablet to access the security system. It took several tries, but she finally found the master control panel. Door locks, gate controls, camera feeds. She disabled the cameras first, every single one. Then she unlocked all the doors. An alarm immediately started blaring. Kate didn't care. She ran to the bedroom and grabbed her passport from the drawer where she kept it. She threw on jeans, a sweatshirt, grabbed her phone and wallet. The alarm screamed through the villa. On the tablet, she could see Hyun-woon in the other villa, his head snapping up at the sound. He grabbed his phone and started running. Kate sprinted down the stairs and out the front door. She had maybe 2 minutes before he reached her. The gate at the end of the driveway was still closed. She ran to the control panel mounted on the wall and pressed every button until the gate started sliding open. Kate! Hyun-woon's voice. She turned. He was running across the garden between the two villas, his face twisted in panic and rage. Kate, stop! What are you doing? She didn't answer. She ran through the opening gate and into the street beyond. Kate, you don't understand. Come back. She kept running. The street was busy with morning traffic. People stared at her, a black woman running barefoot in a residential neighborhood, a man in a business suit chasing after her. Some pedestrians stopped, concerned. Someone help me. Kate screamed. Please. I need help. A taxi slowed down. Kate wrenched open the door and jumped in. Drive. Please, just drive. The driver, an older Korean man, looked confused but saw Hyun-woon approaching and quickly hit the gas. The taxi pulled away from the curb. Kate looked back through the rear window. Hyun-woon stood in the middle of the street, his perfect composure shattered, screaming her name. She didn't realize she was crying until the taxi driver handed her a tissue. Where do you want to go, miss? Kate gave him Jenny's address, her voice shaking. As the taxi navigated through Seoul traffic, Kate looked down at the gold bracelet on her wrist. The one she couldn't remove. The tracker. She didn't have time to find a jeweler. She needed it off now. Excuse me, she said to the driver. Do you have any tools? Pliers or something to cut metal? He glanced at her in the rearview mirror, then reached into the glove compartment and handed her a small toolkit. You okay, miss? I will be. Kate used wire cutters to snap through the gold band. It took several attempts, her hands shaking, but finally the bracelet fell away. She shoved it in the seat pocket, feeling lighter immediately. When they reached Jenny's apartment, Kate practically fell out of the taxi. She paid with cash from her wallet, the only money she had that was actually hers. Jenny must have been watching from the window because the door buzzed open immediately. Kate climbed 3 flights of stairs and found Jenny waiting in the hallway. Oh my God, Jenny breathed, taking in Kate's appearance. Get inside. Once in the apartment, Kate collapsed on the couch and told Jenny everything. Every detail. Every horrifying piece of information. Jenny listened, her face growing paler. When Kate finished, she said, "We need to call the police." And tell them what? That my ex-husband kept me in a house? I lived there voluntarily. I never tried to leave before today. They'll say it was a domestic issue. Kate, this is kidnapping. This is abuse. This is psychological torture. I know, but I need more than just my word. I need proof that will actually matter. Jenny was quiet for a moment. Then, the tablet. Did you bring it? Kate's heart sank. No, I left it in his office. I wasn't thinking clearly. But you took photos of the documents. Yes. Kate pulled out her phone and showed Jenny the images. The divorce decree. The psychological evaluation. The financial documents. Jenny's eyes widened as she scrolled through them. Kate, this is evidence. This is serious evidence of fraud and abuse. We can take this to the authorities. Not yet, Kate said. I need more. I need to understand what he's doing and why. And I need leverage. Leverage for what? To make sure he can't do this to anyone else. To make sure he pays for what he did. Jenny looked at her friend with new respect. What do you need? I need a lawyer. Someone who specializes in international family law and fraud. And I need to access those camera feeds again. Can you hack into his security system? Jenny grinned. I thought you'd never ask. Over the next 3 days, Kate and Jenny worked systematically to build a case. Jenny used her tech skills to access Hyunwoon's security system remotely. They downloaded weeks of footage showing Kate trapped in the villa, showing Hyunwoon with Mia, showing the dual life he had been living. They found a lawyer named Sarah Kim, a Korean-American woman who specialized in international abuse cases. Sarah took one look at the evidence and her face hardened with professional fury. This is one of the most calculated cases of coercive control I've ever seen, Sarah said. He didn't just divorce you illegally, he systematically stripped you of autonomy, isolated you, and maintained psychological control. This is criminal. Can we prosecute? Kate asked. Absolutely. But more importantly, we can sue. Civil court will be faster, and we can get you compensation for what he did. False imprisonment, fraud, emotional distress. This case is worth millions. Kate nodded. Not because she wanted money, but because she wanted justice. She wanted Hyunwoon to face consequences. There's one more thing, Sarah said. The woman, Mia. Have you looked into her background? Kate and Jenny exchanged glances. They hadn't. Sarah pulled up records on her laptop. Mia comes from the Kim family, old money, lots of political connections. If Hyunwoon is serious with her, he's probably trying to marry into that power. But he couldn't do that if he was legally married to you. So he divorced me to clear the way, Kate said slowly. Exactly. But he couldn't just let you go because you knew things about his business, his life. So he trapped you. Kept you as a secret while building his public relationship with Mia. Kate felt sick. She had been an obstacle. A loose end. Something to be managed and controlled. Let's destroy him, Kate said quietly. Sarah smiled. That's what I like to hear. They filed a lawsuit. They submitted evidence to the police. They contacted investigative journalists who specialized in exposing corruption among Korea's elite. And 3 days after Kate escaped, the story broke. It started with a single article in a major Korean newspaper, venture capitalist Park Hyunwoon accused of imprisoning ex-wife. The article included photos of the villas, copies of the divorce decree, and interviews with Kate's lawyer. Within hours, it exploded across social media. Korean netizens were outraged. International news picked it up. Black woman held captive by Korean husband who secretly divorced her ran on CNN. The BBC covered it. Al Jazeera covered it. The story had everything: race, power, abuse, deception. It sparked conversations about interracial relationships, about the vulnerability of foreign women in Korea, about the abuse of power by wealthy men. Hyunwoon's business partners started distancing themselves. Investors pulled out. His company's stock plummeted. And Mia? She released a statement saying she had no knowledge of Kate's existence and was horrified by the allegations. She broke off her relationship with Hyunwoon publicly. Kate watched it all unfold from Jenny's apartment, feeling surreal. Her private nightmare had become public spectacle, but she didn't regret it. Every article, every post, every comment calling for justice, it validated what she had experienced. 2 weeks after the story broke, Sarah called with news. He wants to settle. He's offering $20 million and a full public apology. Kate's breath caught. $20 million. Financial security for life. The ability to start over anywhere she wanted. What do you think? Kate asked. I think we could get more if we go to trial. But trials are long and brutal. You'd have to testify in detail about everything. Relive it all publicly. The settlement gives you closure now. Kate thought about it for a long moment. Then she said, I'll take it. But not because I'm afraid of trial. Because I'm ready to move on. Understood. I'll have him include one more thing, a signed confession detailing exactly what he did. For the record. So it's documented forever. Perfect. The settlement was finalized within a week. Hyun-woon signed the confession. The money was transferred to Kate's new bank account, one he had no access to. And Kate finally felt like she could breathe. She stayed in Seoul for another month, doing interviews, speaking to other women who had experienced similar abuse. She became an advocate, using her story to help others recognize the signs of coercive control. But eventually, she knew she needed to leave. Korea held too many painful memories. She needed a fresh start. Kate chose Paris. She had always dreamed of living there, studying at the fashion schools, working in the industry. Now she had the money and freedom to do it. She found a small apartment in the Marais district, nothing like the villa in Gangnam. This place was hers. She chose it, she paid for it, she could leave whenever she wanted. Kate enrolled in advanced design courses. She started sketching again, something she had stopped doing during her years with Hyun-woon. Her hands, free from the tracker bracelet, moved across paper with renewed energy. She realized she was left-handed. Somehow, over the years with Hyun-woon, she had started using her right hand for everything. Another small way she had lost herself. Now she drew left-handed again, and her designs came alive. 6 months after leaving Korea, Kate opened a small fashion studio. She hired 3 other designers, all women, all survivors of various forms of abuse. They worked together creating clothes that felt like armor and freedom at the same time. Kate called her first collection Uncaged. The centerpiece was a gold jacket with a broken chain motif. It sold out within days. Fashion magazines wanted to interview her. She was invited to shows in Milan, New York, London. Her story, both the trauma and the triumph, resonated with people around the world. But the best moment came one evening in her Paris apartment. Kate was sketching designs for her next collection when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello. Silence. Then, Kate. Hyun-woon's voice. She hadn't heard it in 8 months. How did you get this number? She asked, her voice steady. I needed to talk to you. To explain. There's nothing to explain. You held me prisoner. You lied to me. You psychologically tortured me for years. I know I did terrible things. I wanted you to know that I'm getting help. Therapy. I'm trying to understand why I don't care, Kate said calmly. I genuinely don't care about your journey to self-awareness. You don't get my forgiveness. You don't get closure from me. You get nothing. Kate, please. I belong to myself now. Not to you. Not to anyone. Just to myself. And that's all you need to know. She hung up and blocked the number. For a moment, she sat in silence, processing the conversation. Then she picked up her pencil and continued sketching. The design taking shape was a dress, flowing, powerful, free. She titled it Renaissance. Because that's exactly what this was. Her rebirth. Her reclaiming of herself. Kate looked out the window at the Paris skyline, the Eiffel Tower lit up in the distance. She thought about the woman she had been trapped, controlled, erased. And she thought about the woman she had become, strong, independent, whole. She smiled. Somewhere in Seoul, Hyun-woon was watching his empire crumble. His reputation destroyed. His business failing. The scandal had cost him everything. Kate felt no satisfaction in his suffering, but she felt no sympathy either. He had made his choices. Now he lived with the consequences. She, on the other hand, had made different choices. And she would spend the rest of her life celebrating that freedom. Kate's phone buzzed. A text from Jenny. Saw your collection online. You're killing it. Proud of you. Kate texted back. Thank you for saving my life. You saved your own life. I just helped you find the door. Kate smiled and set her phone down. She picked up her pencil again and continued designing. Outside, Paris hummed with life. Inside, Kate felt peace. The next morning, Kate woke naturally, no alarms, no schedules imposed by someone else. She made coffee in her tiny kitchen and sat by the window, sketching. This was her routine now. Simple. Hers. Her studio assistant called to confirm a meeting with a buyer from a major department store. Kate's designs were gaining traction. The fashion world was taking her seriously, not because of her story, but because of her talent. That felt important. She wasn't just the woman who escaped. She was Kate Mitchell, designer. Kate Mitchell, artist. Kate Mitchell, survivor and creator. A journalist from Vogue had requested an interview for their Women Who Inspire series. Kate agreed, on the condition that they focus more on her work than her trauma. She was tired of being defined by what had been done to her. She wanted to be defined by what she was building. The interview happened the following week, in her studio surrounded by sketches and fabric samples. The journalist, a thoughtful woman named Claire, asked good questions. "What do you want people to understand about your experience?" Claire asked. Kate thought carefully before answering. "I want people to understand that coercive control is insidious. It doesn't announce itself. It comes wrapped in love and protection and concern. It strips you down so gradually that you don't notice until you're completely isolated and dependent. And I want people to know that you can rebuild. It's hard and it takes time, but you can reclaim yourself." What would you say to other women in similar situations? Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't dismiss your own discomfort. And know that leaving is possible. It might be complicated and scary, but it's possible. There are people who will help you. The article came out a month later, accompanied by photos of Kate in her studio, wearing one of her own designs, a sharp blazer with gold accents. She looked powerful. She looked free. The article went viral. Kate's inbox flooded with messages from women sharing their own stories. Some were still trapped. Some had recently escaped. Some were years into their healing. All of them found strength in Kate's story. She tried to respond to as many as she could, offering resources, encouragement, connection. She partnered with organizations that helped women escape abusive situations. She donated a portion of her profits to shelters and legal funds. Kate's life had purpose now. Not just survival, but meaning. 1 year after leaving Korea, Kate held her first runway show during Paris Fashion Week. The collection was called Metamorphosis. Each piece represented a stage of transformation, from trapped to fighting to free to flourishing. The finale piece was a gold gown that seemed to shimmer with its own light. Kate wore it herself, walking the runway to thunderous applause. She paused at the end and looked out at the audience, designers, buyers, journalists, friends. People who saw her as she was now, not as she had been. She spoke into the microphone, her voice steady. "This collection is dedicated to every woman who has ever had to rebuild herself from nothing. To every woman who has been told she is less than she is. To every woman who has taken back her power. You are not broken. You are becoming." The applause was deafening. Backstage afterward, Kate's phone buzzed. Another unknown number. She had stopped blocking them. Most were journalists or business contacts now. She answered. "Hello, Ms. Mitchell? This is Detective Park from Seoul Metropolitan Police. I wanted to inform you that Park Hyun-woon has been formally charged with several crimes based on your case and subsequent investigations. Other women have come forward. You started something important." Kate's breath caught. Other women? 3 so far. Similar patterns. He appears to have targeted foreign women, particularly women of color, who had fewer social connections in Korea. You were not his only victim. Kate felt sick and vindicated at the same time. She had suspected something like this, but hearing it confirmed was different. "Will there be a trial?" she asked. "Yes. We would like you to testify if you're willing. Your case is the strongest. It could help convict him and help the other victims get justice." Kate didn't hesitate. "I'll be there." "Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. You're very brave." After she hung up, Kate sat down on a bench backstage, processing this news. She wasn't his only victim. He had done this before. He had probably planned to do it again. But because she had fought back, because she had refused to stay silent, other women had been saved. Other women had found the courage to come forward. That meant something. That meant everything. 3 months later, Kate returned to Seoul for the trial. She walked into that courtroom wearing her own designs, a sharp suit that made her feel like armor. She testified for 6 hours, detailing everything Hyun-woon had done. Every manipulation. Every lie. Every violation. Hyun-woon sat at the defendant's table, no longer the confident man she had known. He looked broken, diminished. He never met her eyes. The other women testified too. Their stories were horrifyingly similar. Isolated, controlled, divorced without knowledge, trapped. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous, guilty on all counts. Hyun-woon was sentenced to 8 years in prison. His assets were frozen. Restitution was ordered for all victims. Kate felt nothing but closure. After the trial, she met with the other women. They formed a bond, these survivors. They exchanged numbers, promised to stay in touch. One of them, a Nigerian woman named Amara, was interested in fashion. Kate offered her an internship at her studio. Really? Amara's eyes filled with tears. Really, Kate said. We help each other rise. That's how we win. Kate returned to Paris, but she didn't forget Korea. She started a foundation called Uncaged International that helped foreign women escape abusive situations and rebuild their lives. The foundation provided legal support, financial assistance, housing, and job training. It grew quickly. Donations poured in from people inspired by Kate's story. Within 2 years, they had helped over 200 women. Kate's fashion brand grew too. She opened a second studio, then a flagship store. Her designs were worn by celebrities, featured in major magazines. But she never forgot where she came from. She hired women who needed second chances. She paid fair wages. She created a business built on dignity and respect. On the 3rd anniversary of her escape, Kate stood in her Paris apartment and looked around. The space was filled with her art, her designs, her life. Everything was hers. She thought about that woman who had woken up 3 years ago to discover her marriage was a lie. That woman had been broken and terrified. She thought about the woman she had become, strong, successful, whole. And she whispered to herself, I belong to myself. The words that had saved her. The words that had set her free. Kate picked up her sketchbook and began designing her next collection. It would be called Liberation, because that's what she had found. Not just freedom from Hyun-woon, but freedom to become who she was always meant to be. Her phone buzzed. Jenny sent a photo of herself wearing one of Kate's designs at an event in Seoul. The caption read, My best friend is a genius and an inspiration. Kate smiled. She had come so far, but she hadn't done it alone. Jenny had been there from the beginning, the one who had translated that first document, the one who had given her a safe place to land. Kate texted back, Thank you for never giving up on me. For seeing me when I couldn't see myself. Jenny's response came immediately, always. That's what sisters do. Kate set down her phone and returned to her sketching, but her mind drifted back to something Detective Park had mentioned during a follow-up call last month. The investigation into Hyun-woon had uncovered more than just his treatment of the women. They had found evidence of financial crimes, money laundering, fraud, tax evasion. The carefully controlled life he had built was unraveling thread by thread. Mireille had also given interviews, explaining that she had been deceived too. She thought she was dating a divorced man rebuilding his life. She had no idea about the villa next door, about Kate trapped inside, about the cameras and the control. In a strange way, Kate felt sympathy for her. They had both been pawns in Hyun-woon's game, just playing different roles. The doorbell rang, pulling Kate from her thoughts. She opened it to find a delivery person holding a large package. For Catherine Mitchell, the person said. Kate signed and brought the package inside. There was no return address. She opened it carefully, half expecting something from Hyun-woon. He was in prison, but he had supporters, people who still believed his version of events. Inside was a letter and a small wooden box. Kate opened the letter first. It was from Hyun-woon's mother. Kate's hands trembled. She had never met the woman. Hyun-woon had always said his family was too traditional, that they needed time to accept an interracial marriage. Another lie Kate now understood. They probably never knew she existed. The letter was in English, written in careful handwriting. Dear Catherine, I am writing to you with a heart full of shame and sorrow. I learned about what my son did to you only when the trial became public. I cannot express how horrified I am by his actions. I want you to know that I raised him better than this. I taught him respect, honor, kindness. Somewhere along the way, he lost those values. Or perhaps he never truly had them. As a mother, I struggle with this question every day. I am not writing to ask for your forgiveness on his behalf. He does not deserve it. I am writing to offer my own apology. As his mother, I feel responsible for the man he became. I failed to see the darkness in him. I failed to protect you and the other women he hurt. The box contains something that belonged to my own mother. It is a traditional Korean naraigi, a decorative ornament worn with hanbok. It represents good fortune and protection. I know it cannot undo the harm my son caused, but I hope you will accept it as a symbol of the good I wish for your future. You are a remarkable woman, Catherine. Your strength and courage have inspired many, including me. I pray that you find peace and happiness in your new life. With deepest respect. Mrs. Park Sun-hee. Kate wiped tears from her cheeks. She hadn't expected this. She opened the wooden box and found a delicate ornament, silk tassels in deep red and gold, with jade beads and intricate knotwork. It was beautiful. She held it carefully, feeling the weight of history and intention. This was not Hyunwoon's apology. This was a mother's acknowledgement of pain caused by her child. It was an offering of respect from one woman to another. Kate placed the naraigi on her shelf, next to photos of her Paris life. It belonged there, a reminder that not all connections to her past were poisonous. Some people, even tangentially connected to her trauma, could still offer grace. She sat down and wrote a response. Dear Mrs. Park, thank you for your letter and the beautiful gift. Please know that I do not hold you responsible for your son's choices. He made those decisions as a grown man, and the accountability rests with him alone. Your gift will be treasured, not as a reminder of pain, but as a symbol of the kindness that still exists in the world. It takes courage to reach out as you did, and I respect that deeply. I wish you peace as well, Mrs. Park. I hope you can find a way to reconcile your love for your son with the truth of what he did. That is not an easy path, and you have my compassion as you walk it. With gratitude, Kate. She mailed the letter the next day, feeling another piece of closure click into place. Kate's life continued to evolve. She gave a TEDx talk about recognizing and escaping coercive control. The video went viral, with over 10 million views. Organizations fighting domestic abuse invited her to speak at conferences. Universities asked her to guest lecture. She said yes to the ones that felt right, the ones where she could genuinely help. But she also protected her energy. She had learned that lesson well. She didn't owe anyone unlimited access to her story or her time. On a crisp autumn morning, Kate received an email that made her pause. It was from a documentary filmmaker named Marcus, based in London. He wanted to make a film about her story, not just the escape, but the rebuilding. He wanted to show the whole arc, from captivity to freedom to thriving. Kate's first instinct was to say no. She had shared enough. But something about Marcus's pitch resonated. He talked about the importance of showing what comes after, the hard work of healing, the possibility of genuine happiness on the other side of trauma. She agreed to a phone call. Marcus was thoughtful and respectful. I don't want to make trauma porn, he said. I want to make something that shows your humanity and your strength. I want other survivors to see that life after abuse isn't just survival, it can be beautiful. What would you need from me? Kate asked. Interviews, obviously. Access to film you in your daily life. Working in your studio. Meeting with your foundation. Just being yourself. And if you're comfortable, we'd include some of the legal documents and evidence, but only what you're okay sharing. Kate thought about it. I want editorial approval. I need to see the film before it's released and have the power to veto anything I'm not comfortable with. Absolutely. This is your story. You have final say. They spent 6 months making the documentary. It was harder than Kate expected, watching footage of the villa, seeing photos of herself from those years when she had looked so lost. But it was also cathartic. The film showed her escape, yes, but it spent equal time showing her in Paris, designing, laughing with her team, speaking at events. The documentary premiered at Sundance Film Festival and won the Audience Award. Distribution companies fought for it. Eventually, it was picked up by a major streaming platform and released globally. The response was overwhelming. Kate's foundation received a flood of donations. Women reached out from every continent, sharing their own stories, asking for help, offering support to others. Kate watched the documentary with Jenny via video call, both of them in their respective cities, Jenny in Seoul, Kate in Paris. When it ended, Jenny said, "You did it. You really did it. You took something horrible and turned it into something meaningful." Kate smiled. "We did it. I couldn't have done any of this without you." "So what's next?" Jenny asked. Kate looked around her apartment, at the life she had built. "Honestly, I think I'm ready to just live. No more looking back. Just forward." "I like the sound of that." They talked for another hour, laughing and reminiscing, making plans for Jenny to visit Paris in the spring. After they hung up, Kate opened her laptop and checked her foundation's website. There was a new message in the contact form from a woman in Brazil. "I just watched your documentary. I've been planning to leave my husband for 2 years, but was too scared. Your story gave me courage. I'm leaving tomorrow. Thank you for showing me it's possible." Kate read the message 3 times, feeling the weight and beauty of it. This was why she had shared her story. This was why the pain had been worth transforming into purpose. She responded, "You are braver than you know. Take care of yourself. You deserve freedom and peace. If you need resources or support, please reach out to our foundation. We're here for you." Kate closed her laptop and walked to her window. The Paris streets below were alive with people going about their lives, students hurrying to class, couples holding hands, artists setting up easels along the Seine. She was part of this world now, not watching from behind locked doors, but participating fully. Her phone buzzed one more time. A text from an unknown number. "Ms. Mitchell, this is Amara. I just finished my first semester of fashion school. I got straight A's. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for showing me what's possible." Kate's eyes filled with tears, the good kind, the kind that came from joy rather than pain. She texted back, "I'm so proud of you. Keep going. The world needs your designs." Kate set down her phone and picked up her sketchbook one more time. She had an idea for a new design, something bold and joyful, with bright colors and flowing lines. Something that celebrated not just survival, but the absolute fullness of life after liberation. As her pencil moved across the page, Kate found herself humming. She couldn't remember the last time she had hummed while working. Maybe never. This was new. This was happiness. The design taking shape was unlike anything she had created before. It was optimistic. It was bright. It was unafraid. She titled it After. Because that's where she was now. After the fear. After the pain. After the fighting. After everything. She was in the after, and it was more beautiful than she had ever imagined possible. Kate finished the sketch and held it up to the light streaming through her window. Perfect. She would make this dress the centerpiece of her next collection. She would call the collection Joy, a radical act for a survivor of trauma, to claim joy as her defining theme. Outside, church bells rang somewhere in the distance. The Eiffel Tower sparkled as it did every evening. The city of lights welcomed the night. And in her small apartment in the Marais, Kate Mitchell, designer, survivor, advocate, free woman, smiled and began planning her next creation. She belonged to herself. And that was everything. If this story moved you, hit that like button and drop a comment below telling us what part resonated most with you. Share this video with someone who needs to hear Kate's message of hope and resilience. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button because we share powerful true stories like this every week. Stories that matter, stories that inspire, stories that remind us of the strength of the human spirit. Thank you for watching Kate's journey from captivity to freedom. Remember, if something feels wrong in your relationship, trust your instincts. You deserve love that liberates, not love that imprisons. Until next time, stay strong and stay free.